Tonight on NewsWatch, the United Nations stepping up in Syria. More on their investigation into the possible use of chemical weapons.
Plus, Pastor Saeed Abedini's appeal is rejected. What comes next for the American imprisoned in Iran?
And behind the scenes with a beardless brother. Meet the newest member of the TV show Duck Dynasty. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Secretary of State John Kerry says chemical weapons were used in Syria and that President Bashar Assad destroyed the evidence. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Those words came after UN inspectors in Syria say they were fired upon today in Damascus. They were there looking for evidence of chemical weapons use. As
John Waggy explains in tonight's top story, the U.S. and its allies could be preparing for some kind of military response in the region.
UN inspectors claim that after they left their Damascus hotel, they were shot at deliberately and multiple times on the way to the scene of last week's deadly attack. According to Doctors Without Borders, 355 men, women, and children died of what it called neurotoxic symptoms, and thousands more have been treated for the symptoms. Western leaders say the Bashar Assad regime's grudging cooperation in a probe of the horrific killings is, quote, too late to be credible.
The fact is that much of the evidence could have been destroyed by that artillery bombardment. Other evidence could have become degraded over the last few days, and other evidence could have been tampered with.
The White House has reluctantly sounded tougher as calls for military action grow. France, Britain, Israel, and some members of Congress are pushing for the U.S. to get involved.
This demonstrates yet again that we simply cannot allow the world's most dangerous regimes to acquire the world's most dangerous weapons.
French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius says a chemical massacre happened and the responsibility of Bashar al-Assad is clear. There needs to be a reaction.
You could destroy his munitions and you could destroy his fuel. You could even destroy the Syrian Air Force if we wanted to.
President Obama is still weighing his options, but in a sign the U.S. may be a step closer to an armed response, naval forces have been dispatched towards Syria's coastal waters. Speaking in South Korea, Arizona Senator John McCain cautioned that an ineffective U.S. response would harm American interests.
If the United States stands by and doesn't take very serious action, not just launching some cruise missiles, then again, our credibility in the world is diminished even more if there's any left.
Meanwhile, Assad enjoys continued backing from Russia. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov blasted the Western nations Monday, saying they didn't have evidence Assad is behind the chemical attack. Assad himself continues to deny he did it. He warned that any U.S. intervention would create a ball of fire that will inflame the Middle East and result in failure. John Waggy, CBN News.
Israeli-Palestinian peace talks planned for today were called off. That after a deadly clash left 3 Palestinians dead in the West Bank. Palestinian officials say they were killed in an Israeli-led arrest raid. The Israeli military says soldiers only opened fire because they felt their lives were in imminent danger. The violence is a blow to the U.S.-led peace efforts, which resumed in July after a nearly 5-year break.
2 leaders of Islamist groups are proposing an end to the deadly protests in Egypt. They say they'll stop rioting if the military stops its crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood and its allies. Supporters began protesting after the Brotherhood-linked former President Mohamed Morsi was overthrown by the military. More than 1,000 people have died as a result. This new proposal to end the violence comes after much of the Muslim Brotherhood's leadership has been arrested.
For more on the events unfolding across the Arab world, we're joined now by our Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell. Chris is currently in Cairo. Now, Chris, before we get to the situation in Egypt, let's go back to Syria. It looks as though the West really is going to take some military action against Syria. The question is, what will bombing a few airfields or chemical weapon plants do?
It's a good question, Mark. What will be easier to do is get in militarily and by using cruise missiles and hitting those targets you mentioned. What's going to be harder is getting out of the situation. There'll probably be pressure on the West to increase their military intervention against the Assad regime. And the other big question that's going to be asked, and especially in Israel, if they tip the balance of power on the Assad against the Assad regime, on the rebels, many of these rebels are Islamists that are fierce opponents of not only the West, the U.S., but especially Israel.
Well, what is Israel's response likely to be if the U.S. and its allies attack?
Well, one thing they're doing right now is many Israelis are getting gas masks just in case that the conflict is going to spread across the border. One of the big questions that Israel is asking right now is what's going to happen to many of the chemical weapons that Syria has. There are reports, many of them credible, that many of these chemical weapons have been transferred to Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah has about 60,000 rockets, and there's a great concern in Israel that these chemical weapons could one day be on their way to Israel. So in the future, it is possible that there might be a preemptive strike by Israel against some of these chemical weapons about Hezbollah. What happens after that, whether Hezbollah will retaliate, is unclear, but there is the possibility of a wider regional conflict when all these military actions take place.
Chris, you're in Egypt right now. Talk about the situation there. Do you think the Muslim Brotherhood will end their protests peacefully?
I don't think that's going to happen, Mark. And one thing that we've been doing is just yesterday we were down in a Egyptian town called Minya, and many of the churches, Christian businesses, orphanages actually, and one of the ministries down there have been attacked by the Muslim Brotherhood and pro-Morsi supporters. And it's, some of the worst violence against the Christian church in Egypt in almost 700 years. And yet, despite that, Mark, we found that many of the Christians there are resilient. They are saying they're going to continue their ministry even more than before. They're putting their faith in Jesus Christ. And we'll hopefully have that story to you tomorrow on NewsWatch and the 700 Club. And it's quite inspiring to see how they're reacting to the persecution they're facing on a daily basis.
Boy, it sure is. Yes, we look forward to that. Chris, thanks so much for you and your insights, and stay safe. And for more of Chris's coverage of the Middle East, make sure you check out his blog and show, Jerusalem Dateline. You can find links to both on our website, cbnnews.com.
An Iranian court has rejected the appeal of American pastor Saeed Abedini. The court is refusing to reduce his 8-year prison sentence. Pastor Saeed was convicted for his Christian faith. His wife, Naghmeh, says the appeal decision is devastating. She's calling on the U.S. government to do more, saying, "I am extremely disappointed that President Obama has chosen to remain silent on this critical human and religious rights case of an American imprisoned in Iran." And the American Center for Law and Justice has been working on Pastor Saeed's case. The ACLJ's Jordan Sekulow joins us now with more. Jordan, what comes next for Pastor Saeed's case?
Well, I will say this, Wendy, first. It is devastating for the family. I mean, this is not good news. You would hope, the best you could hope for here at the appeal, which this appeal was filed just a couple of weeks after his initial sentence back in January. We're exactly 1 month away from his 365 days, 1 year anniversary being imprisoned only because he's a Christian, this American in this horrible Iranian jail. And then his lawyer gets a phone call yesterday, which is a working day in Iran, says to go to the court. And Saeed's not there. Some of his family gets to go. They get told of the verdict. The lawyers are now, and Saeed just found out actually this morning during his family's visitation, which he gets just once a week for a couple of minutes. So he didn't get the news from the court. The lawyers right now in Iran are discussing whether or not there is an appeal that's allowed to their Supreme Court, or if the only thing left to do officially and technically is to go to the Ayatollah. So in a sense, even though he did not get his sentence reduced, which was the best possible outcome, these appeal courts don't release people. We are moving forward closer to the Ayatollah, who is ultimately the only person who could get him out earlier.
Jordan, we just heard Naghmeh's heartfelt plea to the Obama administration to do more. Can they do more? Should they be doing more?
They absolutely can. The relationship's gotten better, and that's because of a lot of pressure from a lot of supporters, people that are watching this right now, people who have called, who have worked and signed petitions, who have stayed up to date on this and prayed for Saeed and prayed for the work that we're doing, and it's gotten better. But the problem has been that the better has been reactive. It's not a lot of proactive work. So, for instance, we're kind of coming up with the creative ideas of what to do diplomatically, asking if that will be done, hope, and then, they say they'll try, instead of a proactive government really doing everything they can to get an American out of prison. Especially, we're talking about, we know the mass persecution of Christians in this part of the world right now, and this is an American, one of our own, who's been sitting in jail now almost an entire year only because he's a Christian. He's being treated as a national security threat because of that.
Yeah, and we also know that those are pretty deplorable conditions there in Evin prison in Iran. Jordan Sekulow, our prayers are with Naghmeh and with Pastor Saeed. Thanks so much for your insights.
Thanks, Wendy.
Mark?
The sentencing phase is underway in the trial of the Army psychiatrist convicted in the Fort Hood shooting rampage. A military jury now must decide whether to sentence Major Nidal Hassan to death. 13 people died and more than 30 others were wounded in the November 2009 attack. Hassan says he killed American soldiers getting ready to deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan to protect Muslim insurgents. If sentenced to death, the president must approve the measure.
Coming up, how crews are working to fight flames raging near Yosemite National Park.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes now.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the Spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Thousands of firefighters are still battling a massive wildfire raging near Yosemite National Park. Rough terrain, strong winds, and dry conditions are hampering their efforts. Andrea Garrett reports.
It's called the Rim Fire, and it's currently about the size of Chicago. Firefighters estimate the blaze is only about 7% contained.
This is definitely dry, so this is some pretty extreme fire behavior that we're encountering here.
Firefighters were hoping to advance on the flames today, but strong winds threatened to push the blaze closer to nearby communities.
Winds are increasing. Wind tends to drive fire, so that is a concern.
Those winds have created a phenomenon known as crowning. That's where the fire spreads along the tops of trees, moving even faster than it does along the ground. It's already burned nearly 225 square miles, and the U.S. Forest Service says about 4,500 structures are threatened.
Right now, I'm just trying to keep my kids calm and not have them worry too much about what's going on up there and letting them know that our house is still there.
Teams are also working to protect a massive reservoir located inside Yosemite. It supplies 85% of San Francisco's water. California's governor has declared a state of emergency because ash from the fire threatens to pollute the city's water supply.
It is still actively burning as we speak. It has affected our water and power system.
And there's no relief in sight. Heavy rains are predicted for much of the west this week, but not the area around Yosemite. Andrea Garrett, CBN News.
Well, ladies, if you've been putting off buying that fur coat, now might be the time. The Farmer's Almanac is predicting a bitterly cold winter this year. The 197-year-old publication is using words like piercing to describe just how cold it will be. It's also predicting the Super Bowl could turn into a storm bowl. The game will be played at Giant Stadium in New Jersey, and the Almanac is predicting a blizzard in the Northeast around that time. The Almanac says its predictions are based on planetary positions, sunspots, and lunar cycles. Enough for me to get a fur coat, Mark.
I'm not going to get a fur coat, but I'm going to bundle up. Up next, how the cast of Duck Dynasty is using their fame to speak about their faith.
Attention, sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Welcome back. The TV show Duck Dynasty keeps breaking ratings records.
I was watching it last night. Well, and this season, there's a new addition to the series, Pastor Alan Robertson.
In tonight's Focus Report, Jennifer Wishon travels to Duck Commander headquarters to look at why Robertson views the show as his new ministry.
Today, Duck Commander, the family business made famous by hit reality show Duck Dynasty, is more of an empire.
Phil says, do not hunt, do not sell one until you'll hunt with it. So that's what we do.
Would you hunt with that one?
I would hunt with that one.
But in the beginning,
that was the original Duck Commander shed.
Phil Robertson made each duck call right here in the family's backwoods, Louisiana backyard. And as the oldest son, Alan served as one of his dad's first employees.
So we made everything in there, and then there used to be an old bandsaw out back, and I used to cut calls in half, and I was little, I was 12 years old. It was OSHA would, we didn't know who OSHA was in those days. See these nails here? We used to hang duck calls on these nails.
Although he's the oldest brother, fans of Duck Dynasty probably didn't know he existed until now.
Your best man is going to give you the ring. So
Alan debuted on the show's season 4 premiere to a record-breaking audience. Nearly 12 million people watched, making it the largest audience ever for a nonfiction show on cable. Alan jokes he's responsible for the ratings, but in the Robertson family, all glory goes to God.
If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal.
The day after the record-breaking premiere, 30 Duck Commander employees voluntarily showed up for work an hour early to take part in a weekly devotion led by Alan, including Duck Dynasty funny man John Godwin.
Thank you so much for the cross and your grace and your mercy.
Alan preached about God's love.
Without love, we're in serious trouble, right?
It's something he knows well. Before rejoining Duck Commander a year ago, Alan pastored this church for more than 20 years. But as a young man, he never dreamed he'd become a minister.
So my high school years were just terrible, and it was all secret life, running around, drinking and cutting up. So I was one of those, the worst possible place. I was hiding in plain sight. I was in the church, but I wasn't a Christian, and I wasn't living for Christ.
He left home for New Orleans, where he found more trouble. Trouble so bad, it scared him straight. He returned home to West Monroe and made a commitment to Christ. His father, Phil, baptized him in this river behind their house, a body of water Alan estimates the Robertson men have used to baptize at least 1,000 others. Now, most weekends, he and his dad travel the country together, preaching the gospel.
I call us, the feather in the sledgehammer. I come in and kind of get people laughing. I get their tickle bone, because I'm kind of a humor guy. And then Dad comes in with a sledgehammer, boom. This is what God has done for you. This is what our nation needs, boom, boom, boom.
At Duck Commander headquarters, Alan shares an office with his wife, Lisa, who also works for the business. The couple's daughters and their husbands do too. Each day, hundreds of requests come in for a family member to speak or appear at an event.
We're on the telephone. We're working schedules.
They also greet fans.
Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3.
This couple drove in from California. And now that Alan and Lisa will be appearing on Duck Dynasty, they can expect a lot more attention.
They know what they're getting into because they've seen it with the brothers. But I think they are still going to be shocked whenever everywhere they go, people know who they are.
Alan's just a natural fit anyway. He's such a people person, keep us grounded and keep everybody else grounded.
I really feel like God has prepared us for such a moment as this. And when America needs some family to say, hey, we can make mistakes, we can come from nothing, we can have all these things now, but ultimately none of it matters except that we're saved. We're going to be in heaven forever with Christ.
And Kay always says too that she said that whenever she prays, she says if the money or the fame or anything ever takes us away from Christ, then take it all away and leave us with nothing, because when we're at nothing, we've got everything with Christ.
Alan's brothers have made unruly facial hair fashionable.
One writer said that you were an overplucked duck.
Yeah. I get all kind of analogies,
Yeah, so I guess, will we see a beard on Alan, or is this the PR face of Duck Commander?
Yeah, well, that's what I figure. I figure you need to know what they look like underneath. So a lot of times I'll go out in a crowd and I'll say, what about if I did this? And they're like, oh, that's more like it, because they get that vision up. They can tell I belong, to the family. I don't want to get stuck with that look. Are you kidding me?
And I like it better like this.
Yeah.
When there's things crawling out of your beard, or, whenever you've got food left from lunch or dinner, I don't know, that just kind of grosses me out.
But don't be fooled by Alan's smooth face. He loves the outdoors as much as his rugged-looking brothers. Deep in the Robertsons' 1,000 acres of hunting land, he couldn't wait to show us one of the family's nearly 80 duck blinds.
We saw more of the world's problems in a duck blind than any other place.
Unlike the solitude of deer hunting, Alan likes hunting ducks because he gets to cut up while catching his dinner.
It's like all this adrenaline surge, and everybody's up and pow, 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 boom, 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 boom. Then we see what we got, and then Si starts claiming everybody's ducks.
Both Alan and Lisa took a leap of faith leaving their church, but they see their new role with the popular family business and reality show as a new worldwide ministry.
To have a great church is good, but there is people out there that's not ever going to darken the doors that we have here. And they may not ever darken the doors of any church building. And so if we can give them a little taste of Christianity, a little taste of God, but in a fun way, to tell them that just because you are a Christian does not mean that you can't have loads of fun and laugh all the time.
Enjoy life.
And enjoy what God's given you.
Because, we're all fairly young. If God gives us a lot more years on the earth, who knows, where we're going to go from there in terms of what we're able to do.
Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, West Monroe, Louisiana.
All right, great story. Well, up next, the heroic measure the newest Medal of Honor recipient took while on the battlefield.
Stop struggling with heavy hoses that are kinked and deliver little or no water. Or worse, break. Introducing the incredible flexible hose. Turn the water on and it expands up to 3 times its original length, so you can easily guide it anywhere you need without tangling. When you turn the water off, as it drains, the hose retracts back to its original shape. Standard rubber hoses can weigh between 8 and 12 pounds, but a 25-foot flexible hose weighs less than a pound. The flexible hose is so compact and lightweight, a child can manage a 75-foot hose easily. The flexible hose will never kink and is guaranteed to take the mess out of watering your lawn and plants. So washing your windows or spraying off your gutters has never been easier. The flexible hose is made of a tough double wall construction that is designed to bend and stretch but never kink.
Flexible hose is designed like a fire hose for speed, storage, and strength to last a really long time.
Call or visit flexiblehose.com to order the incredible flexible hose for only $19.95. Call right now and we will include a 7-way adjustable spray nozzle free. You can choose a full action spray, a gentle mist, a powerful jet, a vertical mist, flat spray, a cone spray, or a soaker setting. So stop coiling your hose with bulky devices. Flexible hose automatically retracts in seconds and weighs less than 1 pound. In fact, a 75-foot hose easily fits in a small bucket and stores away neatly in a drawer. Flexible hose saves you precious space on boats and is perfectly portable for RVs. But wait, order today and we'll give you a second flexible hose system free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's 2 flexible hoses and 2 7-way adjustable spray nozzles, a $40 value, all for only $19.95. This offer is not available in any store. Order now.
To order flexible hose and take advantage of this amazing double offer, call 1-800-769-3384 or go to flexiblehose.com. Remember, this offer is not available in stores, so call now.
And finally, President Obama today awarded a soldier the Medal of Honor at the White House.
It is the military's highest honor, and it was given to Army Staff Sergeant Ty Carter for his courageous actions during what is described as one of the deadliest attacks on U.S. troops in Afghanistan since the war began. During the 2009 battle, Carter risked his own life to kill some of the estimated 300 enemy combatants, provide fellow troop members with ammunition, and give first aid to an injured soldier. The assault left 8 American soldiers dead and more than 20 wounded. Carter is the 5th living recipient of the Medal of Honor for actions in Iraq or Afghanistan.
And I understand he is married with 3 children, so I know they are celebrating tonight. What an incredible honor.
That's right.
And we're thankful for his service to our country.
Yes, we are. That is for sure.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Newswatch.
Remember, you can email us your comments and questions at newswatch@cbn.com. Hope you'll join us next time.